Hello everyone. One of the holiday releases that people seem to be especially interested in is the Cocoa collection from Victoria Beckham. So I did do a little poll on my community tab a couple of weeks ago, and I asked which of the palettes that were out right now people might like to see a review of, and the Cocoa collection palette definitely won by sort of a landslide. And so I have managed to get all of the products that are in this collection. So I have this eyeshadow palette, and then there also are 2 eyeliners and a brown mascara. And so I thought that in this video I would quickly just demonstrate all of these products in the context of a quick makeup look using some other Victoria Beckham products. One other product that I've also picked up is their liquid blush, and so this is called Color Wash, and I had been really skeptical about this and I almost didn't pick it up at all because I had heard that it was kind of messy, and it certainly is kind of on the expensive side for a small container of blush. But I finally did get hold of this, and I managed to get it on a little bit of a sale. And I've actually been really happy with it and really surprised at how much I like it. And so I will be trying this one on in the video footage as well. And one other product from Victoria Beckham that I have been really liking is the foundation drops, and I liked them fine when they came out a couple of months ago, but now that it is winter, I feel like they are particularly appropriate for my dry skin. And before we get started, I just thought I would mention a little bit of information about me. I am 61 years old, and I have dry and very sensitive skin. And there are certain ingredients that always do irritate my sensitive skin, and I know that many other people are irritated by those ingredients, and they are all controversial ingredients in general. And so I just don't talk about any products that contain those ingredients on this channel. And then in addition, more recently, I have decided that it's probably best for my skin if I just don't use any kind of essential oils or other kinds of natural processed fragrances on it. And so for the most part, I have been avoiding that as well. And so let's just start the video footage. And so I am starting out by putting on the Cell Rejuvenating Illuminator, which is $80 and which was released earlier this year. This is available in 3 different shades. And the shade that I have is one that is pink. It's described as a universal rosy pink glow, and I think that may have been a little bit of a mistake for me to pick up that one because it does make my skin look a little bit more pink. And so I think it's fine if I'm putting it on underneath the foundation, but I would kind of like to wear this product on its own, and it's a little bit too pink for me to do that. And so if I buy this again, I would definitely buy the more neutral shade. And so it doesn't really have too much oil except for the squalane, and so it is really designed to provide some hydration and to be a good base for makeup. And this one is done in collaboration with Augustinus Bader, and so it does include the Augustinus Bader proprietary peptide in it, and that peptide is designed to give a signal to your own stem cells to make them help to rejuvenate your skin more. And that would be something that I was a little bit skeptical about. But I did do a trial where I used the Augustinus Bader Rich Cream on half my face for the whole year, and I do think it made a positive difference for me. And a lot of people that watched that video thought that it looked better on the side that had the Augustinus Bader. And so I am a little bit of a fan of the Augustinus Bader products in general, and a little bit of a believer that there is actually something to this. And then I am putting on the Augustinus Bader foundation drops, and those are quite expensive. They are $110, and the main reason for that, I believe, is because, again, they do contain this Augustinus Bader proprietary peptide, which is very expensive, regardless of how you purchase it. And so my feeling about this foundation is that if you compare it to other foundations, it seems like it is really, really expensive, but I think it is specifically designed for people that are Augustinus Bader fans and that are using the Augustinus Bader Rich Cream at night and that want to give their skin a little bit more of that peptide by using it in their foundation during the day. But I also think that it is a good foundation, and I think especially if you have dry skin and if you have mature skin, that this may be one that you will really like. And again, when it was fall and when my skin was doing okay and when it was not super dry, then I thought that the foundation was okay for me, but that I needed to put some kind of a setting spray or a powder on top of it. But now that it is really, really dry and the heat is on almost all the time, I think that I am really in need of a foundation like this, and I didn't really need to put any kind of a setting spray or setting powder down on it, and it actually is feeling really good on my skin. And so that makes me really want to continue using it. And if I use up the bottle, I will just buy some more. And as with most foundations that I use, I just am putting this on with my fingers and then lightly buffing it into my skin with a brush. And then in the video footage, I am using to touch up my face the Bobbi Brown Skin Corrector and Concealer. And then to work on my brows, I just used very quickly the Jones Road Brow Pencil. And now for this new blush. So this came out a few months ago and I heard some really mixed reviews about it. And specifically, I heard that it was kind of messy to put on and that you needed to put it on the back of your hand and then to put it on with the brush or your fingers, and that it tended to stain and that it would leave a stain on the back of your hand. And so all of these things made me kind of concerned about it. And in general, I like things that are really simple to use and easy and no fuss. And it looked kind of brightly pigmented, and so that also made me a bit concerned. And it is expensive. But finally, I did actually pick it up. And I am so happy that I did pick this up because I do really, really like it. And I think that really compared to almost any other blush that I've ever used, this one looks super natural on my cheeks, like I'm really not wearing any blush at all, and that I just look a bit more healthy. And when I compare this to really all of the other blushes that I have, those more look like I am actually wearing blush, which is fine. I am not trying to pretend that I'm not wearing any makeup. But this one really does look very nice on me. And I did put it on the back of my hand, and it left a very small stain. I can show you what it looks like when I put this on my hand in terms of the stain. And it's a very mildly pink stain. It's really not a big deal. And it did wash off immediately when I just used soap and water. And I always wash my hands after I put on makeup anyway, and so it's not like I feel like I have to scrub my hands or use makeup remover or anything like that. It does come off with soap and water. But on the other hand, on my face, I do think it stays in place pretty well. And when I have put it on, I feel like when I go through my day, after a number of hours, that it still looks like I have a little bit of a healthy flush. And I do feel like it's been working well for me, both on bare skin and also at least over this Victoria Beckham foundation. And so this is a product that I do intend to wear. Now, I will say that I'm not a real big blush person to begin with, and that generally speaking, when I put on blush, it's usually something that is really muted, and I'm not using a whole lot of it. And if I do want to draw some attention to my face, I usually either do it with lipstick or with some kind of an eye look. And so therefore, I think that this particular blush is actually, now that I've figured out what it does, it's kind of right up my alley in terms of it looking natural and like I'm not really wearing much blush or any blush. And as a primer for the eyeshadow, I got out one of my Victoria Beckham eyeshadow sticks. And so this is in the shade Trench, which is just kind of a beigey type of a color. And so I just put this on my eyes really quickly. And I do think that it serves as a nice base for a variety of different kinds of eyeshadows. And I probably should consider using this one more often because it does perform well. And so now for the eyeshadow, I already had a case for the Victoria Beckham eyeshadows because I purchased the green palette when it first came out back in the spring. And so rather than just buy a new case, I thought that I would just put this cocoa version in this one. And I think that that has been fine, and it does come with a plastic sleeve. And so this is fine for storage, and it is really fast to switch them out. And so I'm not sorry that it worked out that way. I do really like this green eyeshadow palette. I think that this has worked very nicely on my eyes, and I do kind of like green eyeshadow a lot, and these are kind of on the muted side, and this bright green one, it has been a little bit too much for me to use as an eyeshadow, but it's been okay as an eyeliner for me. And in general, I've been really happy with this one, but when I have looked at the pictures of the other versions that were released at the beginning, I think that all of those look like they were quite saturated and that they would probably be a little bit too much for me. And so I haven't picked up any of the others. I kind of felt like the cocoa one might work. This one still does have fairly dark shades to it, but at least it didn't seem like it was quite as dark as the other ones that they had released, and it also is browns, and I tend to do pretty well with browns. Now, I was kind of surprised, though, when I got this palette, because these colors were not really what I was anticipating. I was expecting, I think, all of the shades to be cocoa-type shades and just to be slightly different versions of them, but I really think that these are different shades than I was expecting. And so there are 4 shades in here, and so the first one is the largest pan in here, so I think they're expecting you to be using this more widely on your eyes. And this is more yellow than I had anticipated. It certainly is quite gold, and I don't necessarily feel like I do badly with yellow, but I'm not sure that's my favorite color to put on my eyes either. And then the second one is kind of almost like a burnt orange, and it is certainly more orange than a lot of people would like. I think that on my eyes I can get away with orange because my skin has kind of a peach undertone to it, but I do think that this is pretty distinctively orange. And then the third shade here is a shimmery shade, and that one is actually what I would consider to be kind of a cocoa shade. And I do really, really like that shade, and I think I could use that one as a one and done, kind of on a regular basis. And so I'm a little bit sorry that it only has this one little compartment that has that particular shade in it. And then the last shade here is a dark shade that does look like it's a cocoa color. And I would not use that on my eyes as an eyeshadow, but I felt like I could use it as an eyeliner. But I also think that it's a little bit on the smudgy side. And so in a lot of cases, when I have a dark colored eyeshadow, I can use it really kind of more precisely if I use a small brush. And this one is not real saturated, but it does tend to go a little bit smoky or smudgy on me. And so in general, I do think that Victoria Beckham is known for doing a smoky eye look. And so almost every picture I have seen her in, she is wearing a really kind of a muted lip and an eyeshadow look that does look pretty smoky and kind of dramatic, even if it's obviously a day look. And so that is just seems to be what she likes. And so the fact that all of these eyeshadow palettes are a little bit on the smoky side shouldn't be all that much of a surprise, but that makes them a little bit less wearable for me, in my opinion. And as always, when I apply eyeshadow, I kind of just do it really mostly in the same way. And so what I do is pick a lighter color, and in this case I'm using that golden color, and putting it all over the movable lid, and then up a little bit so that you can see it when my eyes are open. And then I choose a second color, and I put it in the outer third to outer half of my eyelids so that it provides a little bit of dimension. And then sometimes I will put a shimmery shade over the entire look, especially if I have one that's like an eyeshadow topper. But in some cases, I will just put the shimmery color either over the whole eyelid or in the outer third of my eye. And then I use the dark shade as an eyeliner. And after looking at a lot of recommendations from people on how to address hooded eyes in a kind of a fast way or more mature eyes, I think that this is a look that people seem to be pretty consistent that this can be a good look for people with my sort of small and hooded eyes. And I think it's worked well for me in general. And I think it worked fine with this palette. But I also do feel like I really liked it better when I just took that shimmery eyeshadow and put it more broadly over my entire eyelid. I just really like that particularly brown shimmery color, and so I am intending to use this pretty liberally every time I use this palette, I think. And then I put on a little bit of mascara, and so I thought that what I would do is to compare this Future Lash mascara to another mascara in my collection, which is the one from Saie. And so this is called the Saie Mascara 101, and they just came out in a brown shade earlier this year. And I have been trying a lot of brown mascaras, and I've been liking a lot of brown mascaras, but this one I think has been performing particularly well for me, especially considering that it is not super expensive. And so I thought that it would be good to compare it to this Victoria Beckham mascara to see if we thought there was any difference. And I'm not really seeing much of a difference in terms of the color. And in terms of the performance, I think that the Saie one has performed at least as well for me as the Victoria Beckham. Now, Victoria Beckham does have two different mascaras. One is called Future Lash, and this one is promoted as a tubing mascara, and it is $34, and so they just came out with this new brown shade. And then their second one is called Vast Lash, and that one's still available only in black. And it is the same price, and it provides a lash look that is a bit more dramatic, but I think it performs a lot like a tubing mascara. Now, for me, I really prefer a more understated lash look, and so in terms of the look, I actually do really like the Future Lash. But I did find the Future Lash to be a little bit irritating when I used it several years ago, and I still think it's a little tiny bit irritating. It's not that my eyes get irritated exactly, but it definitely feels like my eyes are kind of tired at the end of the day if I wear this, and that they've been under a little bit of stress. So I was hoping that that wouldn't be the case with this new brown shade, but I feel like it's performing for me pretty much like the black mascara. And I did feel like I needed to wipe off the wand before I put it on, and that there was quite a bit of a kind of creamy substance. It's not exactly like a paste, but there definitely was quite a bit of mascara in there. But I do feel like after I took the time to actually carefully wipe that off, that it did go on my eyes really easily, and I didn't need to do anything about it at all. And it has held up well for me. I just feel like the Saie mascara is less expensive and easier to get, and it hasn't been irritating, and it has performed at least as well for me. So that has been an impressive product for me this year. And then to finish up the look, I do have a Victoria Beckham lip pencil. And so I put this one on in just kind of a muted type of a shade. And when I first got the Victoria Beckham lip pencils, I really thought they were among the best lip pencils on the market. And now again, everything has progressed to the point where I'm just thinking that these are okay and nothing special, but they still perform fine. I don't mind using them. I have one that is red that I have used quite a lot whenever I wear red lipsticks, and I have this one, which is a pinker shade. And then I also have a few Victoria Beckham lipsticks, and I do like them. They are kind of restrained. They are small lipsticks, and they do cost quite a bit of money considering how small they are. But I do like the way that they feel on my lips, and I do like the way that they apply. And I think that the colors of the ones that I have are very nice, and that it gives a very restrained sort of a look generally, and that is something that I really appreciate. And I have had at least one of these for 4 or 5 years, I think, and it still seems fine. It hasn't gone rancid or anything, so I do appreciate that as well. Now, Victoria Beckham also has a lot of brushes, and so to start out, I decided to buy a lip brush from her because I am interested in lip brushes. I have seen very few people talk about lip brushes, but I think that they can be really helpful, especially when it comes to certain kinds of lipsticks. I don't think you need a lip brush for the Victoria Beckham lipstick at all, but I thought that I would pick up her lip brush anyway. And I think it's been nice, and I haven't had a problem with this, and I like the fact that it comes in a case like this, and then you pull it out, and you put it together like this, and I think that the quality of the brush seems good to me. So I would be a little interested in buying other brushes from Victoria Beckham based on this one example. And I think that very soon what I would like to do is just a short video just talking about lip brushes, because this is something that I really have found almost no information on in terms of which ones are best. And the older that I get, the more useful that I think a lip brush can be. And then in terms of the eyeliners, I actually purchased this brown cocoa eyeliner as one of the first products from Victoria Beckham that I purchased when I started to get into makeup about 4 or 5 years ago. And I did feel like this was just, again, very slightly irritating to my eyes when I used it. And it wasn't so much that I couldn't wear it or that it immediately was problematic, but I do feel like if I wore this for a few hours, then at the end of the day, my eyes did feel kind of tired and a little bit sore. And so I have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to using products that irritate my eyes or irritate my face at all. And I do have a theory that the eyeliners from Lisa Eldridge are really exactly the same as these Victoria Beckham eyeliners. I know that they come from the same company. They're both made in Germany. And both of these seem to have basically exactly the same ingredient lists. And Victoria Beckham and Lisa Eldridge seem to be kind of friends. And so I did find that the Lisa Eldridge ones also were very slightly irritating again. And so therefore I haven't purchased any more of those either. However, because we had this cocoa interest and because this was the first time that I had purchased any kind of eyeliner from Victoria Beckham for years, I decided to give it a try just to see if it would be any different with the different shade. But I feel like it's been exactly the same in terms of my eyes. And so the Cocoa Pave one is a little bit shimmery, but not very much. And it is also pretty saturated. It's not as saturated as the regular cocoa, but it is pretty saturated. And again, I think that especially this cocoa liner, it's really impossible to get a subtle look with this. She is really creating products that are designed to make a smoky eye, I think. And especially with this cocoa shade, which I think is one of her favorite shades, I think that this is really designed to automatically make a smoky eye, and that it is really kind of impossible to use it lightly enough not to have it look smoky. The Pave one is a little bit lighter, and so it is easier to make an eye that is a little bit less dramatic with that one if that's what you choose to do. And I did not find the Cocoa Pave one to be any more irritating than the regular cocoa. It seems to be about the same. One other product that I put on that I do really like from Victoria Beckham is their highlighter stick. And so this is a highlighter stick that is kind of glassy looking, and so it does give some moisture to the face. And so that is something that I always appreciate, even if I'm wearing a foundation that has a lot of moisture in it. I still think that using a glassy highlighter with just a tiny little bit of a shimmer in it can always be a pretty thing. And this is one of the ones that has worked well for me. And unlike, for instance, the Merit highlighter, which went rancid for really everyone that I've heard of very quickly, this one, again, I've had it ever since it came out, which was 3 or maybe 4 years ago. It still smells fine. I don't have a problem with this one at all. A number of people have been asking me about the Victoria Beckham blush stick. And so I have one color of this, and the color that I have is called Playground, which is like a terracotta shade, and I do like it a lot. And I did talk about all of the Victoria Beckham products in my last Victoria Beckham video, which was on the foundation drops. And so if you want to hear about all the products in the whole line, then you might want to take a look at that video. But I will put on a little bit of this Playground one just so that you can take a look at it. So I do really like the Playground shade a lot, and I do like the blush formula a lot. I think it is a blush that more than most of the cream blushes on the market, that when I put it on my skin, it will stay on my skin. So a lot of cream blushes do disappear quite quickly, and this one seems to stay in place better than almost anything in my collection. And so that is one good reason to wear it. And some of the other colors do look really pretty, and I wouldn't mind having one of those. I just never have actually had enough motivation to actually buy more colors of it because this is an older product, but I do really like this. And so if you're thinking about a blush, I think there's nothing whatsoever wrong with this. I think it's quite lovely. And so I will put on the screen my most updated grade sheet for all of the Victoria Beckham products. And so there are quite a lot of them that I have liked. And this is a brand that I have gotten a lot of good use out of. And that for the most part, the products from them I have enjoyed quite a bit. So now for the star of the Coco collection video is my little dog Coco, and he always is at the end of my videos, and so I am really happy to have him in this one. And so please let me know in the comments if any of these products are interesting to you now that you have seen them up close. And in addition, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then I hope you'll do that. And if you liked the video, then please hit like. And I also hope that I will see you in my Facebook group, and that is called 40 Plus Beauty with Lisa Petruson. And Coco and I do love you very much, and so thank you very much for watching. Goodbye. Goodbye, Coco.
La ba da la 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 boom boom.